Hey guys, here's Corny shedding. He just started about 30 seconds ago, and as you can kind of see, he's sort of starting to contract and tense up his muscles back and forth and pull out of it, almost like a sock. Um, I knew he was going to do this for a couple weeks now because he started getting kind of a glazed over look. You could see the skin starting to pull up, and they call them blue-eyed snakes when they're about to shed because they get this glazed blue eye look, and really they're almost blind. They have scales over their eyes, so when they're about to shed, they start peeling that away, and so it's pretty hard for them to see. But yeah, I mean, it pretty much comes off like a sock and starts from the head, kind of starts shaking that off, and then he just slides right on out of it, working its way down. And if you keep the humidity up in the cage or in the room, it should come off in one unbroken sheath, basically. And hopefully it's looking like the humidity was up there. So you just kind of spray him down when you think he's shedding. And it's really important in the winter because you have a lot of the dry heat from the heater kicking out, and so the humidity can drop to close to 0%. And you want to raise it up there. You want it to be about 40 or 50%. So he's still kind of coming out of that. Looks like he's close to halfway done. Maybe a little less. He's currently about 4.5 feet. And when he sheds, the skin, I'll show you after, will be about closer to 5 feet long. It stretches out. And at first it's pretty elastic. And if you're ever kind of in a pinch in the wild, you can always use it to hold some water for you if you need to transport it. But over time it'll get brittle and be pretty easy to rip apart. Another thing that I don't recommend in the wild, if you want to do, is if you ever capture a snake and you need food, kill the snake. You can eat the meat, but keep its skin, and you can use that to hold water, which is really important, and it keeps it sterile. You tie it up, so if you're ever traveling and you need to go somewhere, you can use that. But Corny's actually crawling across the keyboard now, looking pretty cool. And one sec, I gotta plug in my computer. Alright, back on battery, or AC power. Yeah, so Corny's getting to the end of it now. If you look a little closer, I don't know how much I can zoom in here, but it looks pretty cool. It's it's the same pattern. You can see all the individual scales, and she looks pretty shiny once she gets basically her new skin that's developed below. And snakes shed more often when they are younger, and as they get older, they'll start shedding a little every couple months. But when she was younger, she'd shed about every month. Now it's about every 5 or 6 weeks. And it's a good sign. It shows they're healthy. But it's also pretty stressful for them when they're going through the molting process or the shedding process. And so she won't eat. I tried feeding her a gerbil the other day, and she wouldn't eat it. And so I'm kind of glad she's shedding now, so I'll feed her in a little while. And she's been eating small rats typically, or a gerbil here and there, or even a large mouse. You feed her once every 7 to 10 days, and she likes it. And when you're feeding, you just hold it by the tail. You got to be careful so she doesn't strike your fingers. But overall, corn snakes don't really bite very often. And pause for a sec so you can kind of see her tail in there. So her tail's just sort of flowing through the excess dead skin now. You can see it right in the middle of there. And she's almost popped out. But yeah, the feeding, I buy frozen rats and just kind of you thaw them out, dangle them in front of her, she'll come out. She'll you want to make it look like it's living, so you sort of let her chase it for a little while. And that's really important for animals in captivity too, that you don't just put their food dish in there, but you make them work for it, because they can get bored, and a big part of an animal's life in the wild is the challenge for food. So if you take that away, they get sort of depressed. So you have to really keep them active, play with them, give them little challenges. If you have an animal in a cage, you want to make it kind of jump through hoops in order to get a treat. Things like that. Yeah, but Corny again is almost done here. Her head's over on this side. Hey, Corny. And her tail is still coming through. But yeah, so this is the extra skin right here, just kind of sitting there, and then her tail's right about here. And she'll just pull that through. The whole thing, as you can see, takes about 8 minutes or so, 9 minutes. And then she's looking all shiny and clean. Another thing you can do that helps with with snakes before they shed. This is a corn snake, Corny. Is you can put them in a moist towel or a moist pillowcase, and kind of let them wander around in there. It gets the humidity up kind of through the roof, and then they absorb all that water, and it helps them slide out of their skin in one solid piece. So you can kind of see her muscles are contracting, basically just pulling it out. And again, it's a lot of work to do it, puts a lot of stress on them. So they're usually pretty tired. But yeah, this is Corny. She is about, let's see, 1.5 years old now. So pretty much full size. She's a female, and females typically get larger than the males. So the way you can judge them is basically you look at the end of their tails, and if it's 1 bump, it's a female. If it's 2 bumps, it's a male. There's more precise ways of measuring that, but that's kind of the easiest. And corn snakes are really native to anywhere from Florida up as far the East Coast as New Jersey. So they're in the wild. You can see them. They're usually pretty docile, pretty tame. Corny's been bred in captivity for a while now, so she's really tame. But they're constrictors. They're not biters. So they'll bite the mouse to subdue it, but then they constrict it and they squeeze and suffocate it. So if you kind of see them in the wild, they won't really bite just to bite. But again, they're wild animals, so you gotta treat them as such. And Corny is just about shedded. But I'm pretty excited. She shed in front of me, which is a big deal. She's pretty comfortable. She's never really done that before. She usually likes being in her cage. She likes it quiet. She likes to be alone. Because again, it takes close to 10 minutes, and so you're pretty vulnerable as a snake during this time. So you want to make sure there's no predators around or any of that. So she usually likes chilling in her cage while she does it, but she decided to do it out in the open today. And she's almost done, but I'll show you the front part of it. This is kind of the opening. You can see her mouth there. A lot of times you'll see them basically yawning, and they actually dislocate their jaw, so they can really pull out of it. They also dislocate their jaw when they eat, so that's another big thing. I'll try to give you guys a look at the eye. Yep, you can see that little hole. It's a scale that covers the eye. It's a clear scale, but it kind of fogs over before they're about to shed. Yeah, and I mean it's the width of Corny, it's the length of Corny, plus a little stretchiness. And she's about, what, Corn, 5 inches from fully pulling out. And she's coming back around. Say hi. Currently we're, yeah, just over 10 minutes. So that's about normal length for shedding. Hey, Corn. No, I think she's just hanging out. She knows she's pretty much done. Her tail can sort of zip out of there now. But yeah, they pull the skin. She sort of pushes it back on herself. So it's like, imagine kind of pulling off a sock. It's going to be inside out. So this is actually inside out. Hey, Corn. Try to get a closer look for you. Hey, Corn dog. And she doesn't look that long, but I mean she's pretty skinny. She's about the fattest part, maybe 2 inches thick, 1.5 inches thick. And then her head's the smallest part, and her tail and her head are the smallest part. And she's a female, so I don't plan on breeding her, but obviously I'd need a male if I wanted to do that. But she's got that nice orange hue, and that's really distinctive of corn snakes. You can also get albino corn snakes. They're all white, obviously. And then she has those golden rings along her as well, the golden bands, which are showing up pretty clearly, actually, on the video. Yeah, she's just coming around. And a lot of people ask me if she's ever bitten me, and no, she hasn't. The one thing you have to be careful about, and I mentioned that before, is just the food. When you're feeding her, just keep your hand free away from the body of the mouse. Make sure that kind of put the mouse in front of you and your hand so she doesn't mistakenly think your finger is one. And then just promptly wash your hands. You don't want to be cooking raw meat and then handling her because she might think your finger is the mouse, because they're smell oriented. They smell a lot of ways. They smell through their tongue, their nose, and all that. So let's see if you're going to pull out of here, Corn. She's still a couple inches into the sheath there, so I'll let her take care of that. Hey, Corn. Where are you going? One thing you have to watch with corn snakes, or with snakes too, is they'll try to get in little tiny warm spots. So be real careful with your heaters. They'll try getting in there. Careful with just weird things that you wouldn't really think of, like going behind the fridge and working her way into the electrical units. She's done that a number of times. Then you just have to kind of take it apart. One way to coax them out is you get a heating pad and you just kind of throw it on the ground and do a cold pack on the other side, so they'll always go towards the heat. So just kind of manipulating their environment a little bit. They are cold-blooded, so you have to make sure you heat part of their cage. So she has hiding spots in there. She has water, she has a plant, but she also has 2 heating pads, which get up over 100, keep her nice and warm. But again, you want to make sure those are outside of the tank, or at least there's something that's protecting her from direct exposure to the heat, because they can burn themselves. Whoops, Corny. She's knocking things over. Just gonna grab my tea. But yeah, she's a little stuck, I think, with her tail, but she'll work it out. Come on, Corn. And looks like she's working her tail out of there. There it goes, starting to peel back. I'm not sure if she meant to do that, but her body weight is now pressed up against this part of the skin, so it's a little easier for her to pull out her tail. But if she didn't do that, I mean, that's pretty cool. It's kind of using her body as a tool. And it's just about out. In 3, 2, 1, and done. So it kind of breaks off at the end of it. But yeah, I mean, there's Corny shedding. I'll kind of leave her alone for a little while and then feed her a rat. But I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a desire to get corn snake. All right.